Make sure I turn this on. Good morning. I would like to call the regular council meeting for November 12th, 2004 to order. It is 9:01. So we're going to start this morning with a public hearing. I declare the public hearing for Bylaw 2075-24 open at 9:01 a.m. I will ask Planning and Development to explain the purpose of the hearing.
Good morning. The purpose of this hearing is to receive public input on Bylaw 2075-24 to amend the land use bylaw to create a manufacturer's taproom use.
Has notice of this hearing been provided in accordance with applicable legislation and the bylaws of the City of Wetaskiwin?
Yes, it was advertised on the city website and whatifwetaskiwin.ca as of October 30th, as per the requirement from the Municipal Government Act, Section 606. In addition, it was advertised on city social media pages on November 3rd, and the Pipestone Flyer on October 31st and November 7th, and notices were sent by mail to property owners and residents within 76 meters of M1 and M2 zones on October 29th.
Thank you. Have we received any written submissions?
Yes, we received one written submission.
If so, please read them into the record.
I live in the area close to the area of the proposed bylaw change to allow tap rooms at alcohol-producing businesses. I am opposed to this idea for the following reasons. For a while, we have not had problems in our area with the homeless population, at least not since the encampment at Rock Soup was cleared away. I want our area to remain safe and peaceful. I'm not sure what type of people these tap rooms would attract, but I do not want drunks roaming our streets or people creating noise or speeding their vehicles through our streets. I am opposed to alcohol sales. I am also opposed to alcohol sales in stores. We have serious alcohol-related problems in our community and need fewer businesses that sell alcohol, not more. Please share these concerns at the council meeting. For the record, sincerely, Carrie Clontz.
Thank you. I'll now call upon anyone who wishes to speak directly to council on this matter. First, we'll call upon those who registered prior to the meeting, and then anyone else who wishes to speak may have an opportunity. Please note, all speakers will be given no more than 5 minutes to speak. So on our list, I have Frank Lupke and company, if you'd like to.
Good morning, I'm Frank Lipka. I am one of the participants in what we're trying to do of trackside distilleries in the city of Wetaskiwin. Many of you may also know me for some of the other companies that I'm president and CEO of, as well as being family owned, which is the group of Mamluk companies. So I'm here in front of council to listen to their concerns and maybe explain a little more what a tap room is. Due to the letter that was just read, I think there's some misunderstanding of what a tap room is and where it can be located.
Thank you, and then I'll ask you to go back, and then if we have questions. Yep. Is there anyone present wishing to speak? Is there anyone present wishing to speak? Mayor Gandam, if you could shut off your mic. Thank you. And is there anyone present wishing to speak on this matter? That was my third call. Excellent. I would like to thank everyone for their presentations at this hearing. Council will discuss and debate this matter later in this meeting. I declare this public hearing closed at 9:05 a.m. And I apologize for saying your last name wrong, of course, because I get it all the time. So Lubke? Lupka. Okay, I'll have it. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to open microphone. We didn't have anybody that registered before the meeting. Is there anybody in the gallery that would like to speak during the open mic?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if we would allow Frank to further elaborate on what he's going to do. There's a number of misconceptions as to what he's going to do. We had coffee with council the other night, and he explained what he's doing, and I think this will get rid of a bunch of rumors that are out there as to what the project actually is. I don't know if that's within protocol, but I think that this would be a good time for him to clarify what's actually going to happen. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Norman, I'll look to you.
Yeah, if council want him back to explain, he can come back.
Mr. Lubka. Did I do that right?
So I think maybe I should start with a little more of, as Bill mentioned, a business plan and what a manufacturer's tap room is. There's misconceptions that a tap room is a lounge, bar, nightclub. It's none of those. The main structure behind a tap room is you need to be a manufacturer of alcohol, and you can only serve your alcohol as being the main ingredient in a drink. The drinks are also very specific of what you can do, when you can do it, and how. Our base model is going to be a vodka seltzer and also a very high-end potato vodka. With our distillery, the way we're setting it up, we will be advantageous to the small vendors, community clubs as like golf courses, even the arenas by making small batch runs from between down to 100 to 500 cans of seltzer and private labeling bottles in anything more than a case of 12. So I believe there's some miscommunications of what an actual manufacturer's tap room is.
Just to clarify, so it's not a place where I can go and sit and drink all afternoon?
No, one is it will be by appointment only at the start. Same as being tours, you must be registered. Also, there'll be no minors allowed, and we cannot have any other liquor for sale, as in, let's say, like a liquor store or anything like that. It's only what is produced on our premises, and we are, as most people will know where the location is, far away from any schools. It's a heavy industrial area, so there's no conflicts of some of the people coming to hanging out. That will not be the case.
Okay, I would like to look for an approval of the agenda, please. Sue?
Thank you to the chair. Administration would like to make one change. If possible, could we move item 10.2 to immediately after adoption of the minutes? And the reason for this is that when we were booking budget dates, the budget deliberation, or sorry, the final budget approval was actually removed from the mayor's calendar, and then he obviously booked his vacation. So we'd like to move that up and deal with it first, so that he can get on.
Thank you. Councillor Billingsley?
Thank you. I'd like to actually go into closed session before that 10.2 under section 24.
Okay. Councillor Nielsen, did I see your hand? No. Okay. So just give me a quick second to go through here. So what I have right now is we will, after approving the agenda, we'll go into closed session under section 24, and then following that, immediately after, we'll go, 10.2 will be budget deliberations, or budget approval, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just through to the city manager, Sue, I would like to ask permission to be away. I may be away for more than 8 weeks. I don't think so, but if I miss the next council meeting, or the December council meeting, I would have been away for too long. I have a medical appointment that day, so I'm not sure if I'll make it back. So does that go under new business, after the in closed session?
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, you could ask the chair to add it now under new business.
Okay.
Yep.
Then I'd like to add that, please, just a request for permission to be away for more than 6 weeks. Thank you. I'm not going on holiday for 2 months.
Okay, so for amendments to the agenda, we'll go closed session 14.1 into immediately after this discussion. Those in favor? None opposed? And then following that, we'll go into the budget approval. Those in favor? None opposed? And then under 15.1, new business, Councillor Elliott's permission to be away for a potential 8 weeks. Those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. Looking for approval of the agenda as amended. Thank you, Councillor Nielsen. Those in favor? Approved unanimously. All right. Can I please have somebody make a motion to go into closed session? Councillor Blatz? Those in favor? Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, what do the people who are waiting for the bylaw, they don't know how long to wait, neither do we, correct?
Thank you. Can I please get a motion to come out of closed session? Councillor Blatz, those in favor? Approved. We are going to move into section 10.2 on the agenda, which is, I'm just getting myself organized. Thank you for your patience. The proposed operating budget approval.
Good morning, Council. Yes. Good morning again, Council. The goal of this RFD is to obtain Council's approval for the proposed 2025 operating budget. The city's operating budget enables administration to provide municipal services at Council's approved service levels to the organization. The proposed 2025 operating budget totals $50,320,518, with $1,137,029 to be funded through an estimated tax rate increase of 5.97%. Results of the October 28 and 29 budget deliberations are summarized and are attached to this agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Councillor Billingsley?
I move to table this discussion to the January 13th, 2025 regular council meeting.
Would you like to speak to that?
Nope.
Okay. Those in favor?
Through the chair,
Oh.
we need a date and time.
January, I believe it's the 13th.
Sorry, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will move on to adoption of the minutes. Yep, okay. May I please have an adoption of the minutes from the last regular meeting? Councillor Nielsen?
Thank you. I move the council adopts the regular council meeting minutes and organizational meeting minutes for October 28, 2024 as presented.
Any changes, omissions? Those in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, we are moving, yep, totally know what we're doing. We're going to move into Section 9, Committee of the Whole, please. The first one that we have listed is 9.1, amendments to the whistleblowing policy.
Good morning, Council. The administration is presenting the whistleblowing policy C0-050 for your information this morning. This was previously presented to Council in September, again for information purposes. The main changes to the whistleblowing policy is to separate its authority over council into and move that into council code of conduct. That bylaw will be presented to council at a future date. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Councillor Blatz?
I move the council accept the amendments to whistleblowing policy CO-050 as information.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Nielsen?
Thank you. Through the chair to Shelley. So when we talk about moving it into council code of conduct, how, because the whistleblower policy applies to employees, how does that impact a regular city employee if it falls under the council code of conduct?
Through the chair to council, You're correct that the content will be moved as the whistleblowing policy amendments will be revise the policy to only impact city employees. Complaints against council members will be addressed through the amended Council Code of Conduct bylaw, which will be coming forward to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So is it safe for me to assume that there will be a whistleblower policy that remains in place for staff to respond and act upon, and then elements of the whistleblower policy will be incorporated into code of conduct for councilors?
Through the chair to council, yes. The council portion of it will be amended into the council code of conduct. And the whistleblowing policy will remain live for employees.
Okay. I just want, and both policies will have a clear procedure for acting upon any complaints.
Through the chair to council, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions that I did send in. On page 6 of 15, under 2.0, the question I asked was, the substance abuse has been deleted. Is it covered elsewhere in the policy?
Through the chair to council, for members of council, moving forward, an allegation involving substance abuse would be handled in the council code of conduct through the amendments that are forthcoming. For employees, the matter would be addressed within the Fit for Duty directive that we already have in place, HR 026.
Okay. Just a few more. On page 7 of 15, 3.2, two little i's, advise council on allegations that have been substantiated. My question is, do council members or staff get advised that there is an allegation against them if it's not substantiated?
Through the chair to council, for members of council, the respondent, which would be the council member for whom the complaint has been made against, would be notified in accordance with provisions of the Council Code of Conduct bylaw. For employees, the process of notifying and engaging with the respondent, again, an employee for whom a complaint has been lodged, would be in accordance with Section 512 of the whistleblowing policy. So your question was for unsubstantiated?
Yes.
So when a complaint is received, whether it's through the Council Code of Conduct bylaw or the whistleblowing policy, the respondents are notified during the investigation portion of the process. So they would be notified of the disposition of the complaint at the conclusion of that investigation. So to answer your question, whether they're substantiated or unsubstantiated, they would be notified of that. And that would apply to both.
Okay, thank you. Okay. On page 8 of 15, under allegations 5.1c, discussing the concerns with a person in a position of authority, is a member of council considered a person of authority, or is it only staff?
Through the chair to council, my understanding of the context for this this clause is that is for when an employee may have a concern, and
yes,
they could be discussing this with a person in a position of authority. So your question is, would council members be considered to be so?
Yes.
For an employee who is uncertain of bringing an allegation forward, so that's the context, a member of council would not be considered a person in a position of authority, as involving a member of council in such a matter could be considered a violation of the Municipal Government Act.
Okay, thank you. Who has the last question I have is, who has the authority to contact a third-party administrator?
Through the chair to council. An employee who wishes to file a complaint against the CAO using the confidential whistleblowing hotline number will be in contact with the third-party administrator as a consequence of their reporting. So that's part of the process. Contact with the third-party administrator is otherwise limited to the third-party administrator initiating contact with the CAO regarding a whistleblowing complaint involving an employee, or the third-party administrator initiating contact with council regarding a whistleblowing complaint against the CAO.
So is the third-party administrator usually a lawyer? I'm sorry, I didn't ask that question ahead of time, but as you're talking.
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, in this instance of the whistleblower policy, it is Expera, the company that we use. If, depending on the complaint that comes in, it could be a lawyer. If the seriousness of the allegations is beyond what our contract is with Expera, then we would push it forward to someone else.
And does it cost each time the third party is notified? Like if an employee goes to that third-party administrator, does that cost right now, or do we have like a contingency fund with them that?
Through the chair to council, we have a contract with Expera, a yearly contract, and so that covers any and all complaints that they receive, and their work through there.
Great. Thank you very much for answering all those. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Platts?
Thank you. Through the chair to Shelley, just under 4.1, I think I'm still a little bit confused because it says it's the responsibility of City of Wetaskiwin leadership to ensure that staff have appropriate avenues to voice their concerns. Under that, there's a little comment that says it's unclear who this is, the CAO, question mark, executive level employees, but still wasn't redefined what leadership meant. Could you just clarify what leadership actually is defined as?
Through the chair to Councillor Platts, these comments that came in from the legal review were not familiar with our structure, and so in the definitions, we will have, or sorry, the responsibilities, we will have CAO responsibilities and then general manager responsibilities, as well as manager responsibilities. So the leadership team is anything management and above.
Okay, perfect. So there's still more that's going to come back about this then for the final copy.
Yeah, we wanted to get the draft in front of council because we know the other bylaws are coming and there's going to be a lot. And this is actually, part of this is separating it from your bylaws.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. And my second question is, it says right underneath that, not all complaints will be anonymous, but they will be confidential. In what instances would the complaints be anonymous? Is it only if the complainant was asking to be anonymous?
Through the chair to council, if an employee files a complaint through the whistleblowing policy, the intake through Expera provides them with the ability to remain anonymous or be anonymous, or to make their name known to the individuals within the city that would be handling that complaint. So it's up to that employee.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Councillor Nielsen? Nope. Perfect. Anything else? Okay, so the motion was to move this as information. Those in favor? Carried. And we will move on now to section 10, staff reports for decision, starting 10.1, the Culture Advisory Board terms of reference. Welcome, Zinette.
Good.
Good morning. So I am here this morning to present the final draft of the Cultural Advisory Board for Council. In April of 2024, administration was directed to develop a terms of reference for a Cultural Advisory Board. And this is to help, for the term of reference is to help any organizational body kind of define what the rules of engagement are going to be and solid governance. So I am happy to present the final draft for your approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Elliott.
Do you want me to move my name tag?
No, sometimes I forget not to call you by your first name, so I apologize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move that Council approve the Culture Advisory Board terms of reference as presented.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Nelson.
Thank you. Through the chair. Thanks for the work that's been done on this, but I do have some questions. I'm trying to put the current pieces that we have in our organization in together. So right now we have a city recreation, art, culture, and heritage master plan, correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, we are working on developing redeveloping the recreation master plan to include arts, culture, and heritage.
And then as it's incorporated in the master plan, how does Wetaskiwin Cultural Advisory Board fit into the recreated recreation, arts, culture, and heritage master plan?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, the Cultural Advisory Board would help to inform the elements within that master plan, and then that master plan would become eventually, we change that into becoming more of a strategic document to help guide the department more fully in the work that it would be doing in that area of culture, arts, culture, and heritage.
Under the role of the Culture Advisory Board, the first bullet says, make recommendations to administration and council for developing and promoting the arts, culture, program services, and amenities. So are they making recommendations to admin and council, or would they be making recommendations to the master plan, or both?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, to both. The master plan has not been developed yet, and so the ability to have resident experts help inform that plan will help to guide any sort of strategic direction or policy that would be related to arts, culture, and heritage.
So are we looking at a group of people coming together to feed into the master plan?
Through the chair to...
And one of those groups would be the culture board.
So through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, absolutely.
And then the arts and heritage portion of the master plan would be guided by another outside panel of experts?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, potentially, if directed that way, administration would look to that, as well as the perception or the concept is that culture is inclusive of arts and heritage.
And it could just be me, but I'm having trouble following the pieces, so, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's like I cannot remember your last names today, and I really apologize. Councillor Bronco.
So we're going to have basically two boards amalgamating together eventually. or no?
Through the chair to Councillor Brinko, there could be that potential. That would be under the direction of council because the terms of reference would also need to be adjusted accordingly.
So my confusion is, what if these two boards don't mend? They butt heads. Who gets right, who doesn't? Who's right, who's wrong? Does it come to council's decision to decide who's right, who's wrong? Because one's, you know, heritage, culture, the other one. So who's right, who's wrong when it comes to decision making for the culture?
Through the chair to Councillor Brinko, that would have to be on a case-by-case situation. And at this time, I cannot forecast what the outcome would be or who would do either one of those.
Or who gets
and
priority?
who gets what.
We don't know who gets
Yeah.
priority
No.
or not for funding or anything like that.
No.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Oh, yeah, but I don't know what.
Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, when we came up with the terms of reference for the Recreation Board, originally I suggested it be a Recreation and Culture Board as it used to be in the good old days. It was suggested that maybe we have terms of reference for recreation and terms of reference for arts and culture, and that's why this was developed. So there are going to be things that happen in arts and culture that this advisory board will be sharing, and there will be recreation happenings that will be looked at by the advisory board. And they are both advisory boards, so they're not allowed to make decisions, they're only allowed to advise. So I think it's fairly clear, but...
Thank you.
Pardon? No, I was looking at Wade.
Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. Through the chair to Zanette. What would happen, and I guess we talk about the membership and composition. We've got one member from the county, one member from the city, and then other community members, surrounding communities. What if we're unable to fill these positions? Do we add more from the other segments, or do we just run with what we have and leave it as a vacant position?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, we would leave it as a vacant position.
Okay, thank you.
I actually, if it's okay, just have a question through myself to Councillor Bronco. When you were talking about two committees, which two committees were you talking about? I want to make sure you and I are on the same page. Were you talking rec and culture as two committees?
Culture and advisory board, and then we have recreation. I'm kind of looking at if the members don't equal the same amount of member, if you have 2 to 1 or 1, 2, it can outweigh the decision, what gets done. So I rather just have, it's hard to explain.
They would each be making separate recommendations, and it's my understanding that who is taking the recommendations from a culture board versus a recreation board is administration and or council. So one's not outweighing the other because the decision, they're there for advice, right? The decision making is what, like there would be a council, or excuse me, a culture board and a recreation board, and when they're doing the recreation and culture master development plan, these two boards would be making recommendations, but neither one's making a final decision. And they have no cost value, as into, when I read this, if I'm correct, that there's no cost value as to one board would be getting money for said project. they're there as advisory, not to run projects. Does that help clarify that? Councillor Billingsley?
Thank you. Through the chair. Yeah, I'm in full support of this and having them separate because, as you said, these are advisories. They're not controlling budget. They're not making any final decisions. They are community members, including council, who will then say back to this group and say, hey, we think you should look at this. There's no money attached to it. There's nothing saying that we have to do it either. It would take 4 people to make that decision. So I'm totally in favor of this.
Yeah. Councillor Franco?
Thank you. So you tell me if we have 2 councilor members who sit as on advisory on this board, they're not getting paid for it like the other library boards and other, so there is a cost to budget.
Oh, sure. Yes, but I'm talking about if they wanted to spend tell council to spend $50,000 on an event, whatever that may be, they don't have the luxury to be able to do that.
Okay.
So could there be some form of, absolutely.
And that would come out of our budget line.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Nielsen?
Thank you. Through the chair to Zanette. So plunk the art committee into this and help me navigate how they fit between these 2 boards now.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, that is something that we would need to talk about and figure that out in terms of what that relationship would be, because I do believe that there will be some crossover with folks that are on the arts committee that would be interested in sitting on the advisory board.
So you could foresee the dissolution of the art committee and it being incorporated into the culture board?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, that could be a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
I would also like to say thank you, and I would like to, I'm also in full support of this, and I love the idea of understanding that culture, arts, heritage is a part of recreation, but that it is worthy of its own separation in that sense, and looking to the community as a whole to help advise us. So I am in favor, but I just want to say thank you for the work and all the questions so we understand how we're moving forward. Councillor Bronco.
Thank you. One more question. So when we say parks and recreation and culture, and I understand recreation means all sports in our community, parks and all these are so. And council decides who gets elected to these boards?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I believe we have a motion on the floor, so to the motion is to approve the Culture Advisory Board terms of reference as presented. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Annette. We will move into section 12 now and looking at bylaw 2075-24. Excuse me, creating a manufacturer's taproom use.
Good morning. Administration, I'm here to present on bylaw 2075-24 to create a manufacturer's taproom use. Administration is recommending that the land use bylaw be amended to create and define a manufacturer's taproom use and add this use to the M1 light industrial and M2 heavy industrial districts as a discretionary use. Planning and Development received an application to make these amendments to enable the development of a tasting room in conjunction with a proposed distillery. The existing uses in the land use bylaw that apply to alcohol sales and consumption leave a gap regarding potential development of establishments with Class A manufacturer's taproom liquor licenses. The use is proposed only for M1 and M2 districts because it is an accessory to liquor manufacturing, which is an industrial use that would only be allowed in these zones. Other proposed amendments relate to parking, noise, and outdoor patios to ensure that the new use is regulated in a way that is consistent with similar uses. And lastly, I just add that as a discretionary use, once a development permit was issued, the properties within 76 meters would be notified of that. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. I move that City Council give second reading to Bylaw 2075-24, amending the Land Use Bylaw 1804-13.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to say that there was no compelling arguments not to allow that, in my opinion, this morning. Many communities have such facilities. The location, in my opinion, is more than adequate of worrying about some of the fears that the one person who did submit. But I also want to thank administration. I did receive a few phone calls and questions, I guess, because they received the letter that were outside of that area. So I do want to say thank you. I really believe that we did our due diligence in this matter.
Thank you. Councillor Platts.
Thank you. I kind of wanted to echo Councillor Billingsley's comments, but also just to add that this is kind of an exciting opportunity for something completely different in our community, and it's nice to see that we have so much interest in continuing to build on different facilities, different businesses from people who already have their businesses here in town and they want to continue expanding. And so I think that this is actually something that's very exciting to see, is just the innovation that's now coming to us. So thank you.
Councillor Bronco.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to see that, but I have a question to planning. This project started 2 years ago on making a brewery out of the old building there. Was that application and permit, was that asked back then for a tasting room, whatever? Was that approved 2 years ago?
Through the chair to Councillor Branco, no, the distillery?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to? No, that permit is in process, I believe.
But when they started to renovate, build a distillery, that whole project 2 years ago was approved for a distillery.
I might just pass this to Sue if she's more familiar with this.
Through the chair to Councillor Bronco, there has been an information request and information shared with council on the history of this file, and I would feel more comfortable discussing it in closed session if more information is needed outside of what was already sent.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, so we're looking to second reading of the bylaw. Those in favor? Carried.
I move that City Council gives third reading to Bylaw 2075-24, amending the Land Use Bylaw 1804-13.
Go ahead, Sue.
Sorry, did you do consent? I thought I heard second and then right to third.
I was wondering, yeah, what's on here is showing just goes to third.
Oh, right, sorry. I'm looking at the next one.
Do we not need a unanimous consent?
No, we don't
Okay.
need it.
Okay, thank you.
The whole thing was read out. Thank
Okay.
you. Questions, comments?
Thank you. Through the chair of planning. So if this is, third reading is approved, then the project will be stamped and
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, if this is approved, then they can apply for the development permit for the taproom portion.
And so once that permit comes in, then what becomes the process then?
Then we would notify property owners within 76 meters and
Go through the same process again?
same process.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Anything else? Okay, so motion's third reading. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving along to 12.2, the 2025 proposed fees and charges bylaw.
Hello again, Council. The city's 2025 fees and charges bylaw were proposed and deliberated upon by Council during budget deliberation meetings held on October 28 and 29. The bylaw has been updated to provide the fees proposed, and a summary of all changes is attached for Council's review in the addenda package. This bylaw will repeal Bylaw 2047-23 and any amendments thereto on the date of its final passing. All changes to the fees from 2024 are listed in the schedule of changes and will be implemented if passed as of the 1st of January 2025.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Councillor Platts.
I move that council give first reading to bylaw 2073-24.
Questions or comments? Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you. Through the chair, and this is more of a, hey, can you remind me? On the Schedule C, Planning, Development, and Engineering, the increase from $24,000 up 50%. Can you remind me what that, why we moved that figure?
I just need a moment to collect my thoughts because Kathy did go over this with me, and it's because of new other sections that are created in the land use bylaw that dealt with other things. So this fees, and she gave examples during deliberations, but I can look back into that and bring it back to council. I'm having a brain freeze right now. I can't remember it exactly.
And if I could change my question then perhaps through the chair to administration, do we see this as a encumbrance or a barrier to development?
Through the chair to council, I remember now. Some of the reduction in the fee reduction that was in the bylaw was because it addressed certain things that were smaller development, and it was an impediment when it was higher, so there was a decrease to those fees to deal with those kinds of applications. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I can answer that further too, Councillor Nielsen, through the chair. We do comparators to surrounding communities, and we're still actually lower than our comparator communities as far as development fees go.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? Looking for a motion? Those in favor? Carried.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw 2073-24.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor? Carried.
I move that council give unanimous consent to go to third reading of bylaw 2073-24.
And again, questions, comments? Looking, to the motion. Those in favor?
I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 2073-24.
Last chance. Okay. Those in favor? Carried. And 12.3, the manufactured home bylaw. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Administration is presenting bylaw 2070-24. for council's approval of the manufactured home bylaw. The manufactured home bylaw is to have administration assess the owners of the manufactured home community to levy the taxation on the community as opposed to the individual owners of the units. This bylaw will be in effect a year after it's passed, so it will be effective January 1st, 2026 if passed today. I also want to clarify that for those people, residents that own manufactured homes in the community that is outside of a designated manufactured home park, this bylaw does not apply. Those individuals are already levied accordingly for their home and their units. This bylaw is specifically for the manufactured homes that are currently in a manufactured home park. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Councillor Blatz.
I move that council give first reading to bylaw 2070-24.
Any questions, comments? Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just through to Finance, thank you very much for answering my questions. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Nislin.
Thank you. Through the chair to Finance. In either of these two manufactured home communities in our community, do any of the units own the plot of land upon which they sit?
Through the chair to
Councillor Nielsen, it's okay.
To Councillor Nielsen, I am not aware of any property currently in a designated home park where the lot and unit belongs to the owner. In a park, all of the land is assessed to the park owner. So it is presumed that the ownership of the land is with the park community, not the individuals.
But the taxes is based on land and assessed value of the unit residing on the land, correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, that is correct, but currently in a manufactured home park, the land is assessed to the owner of the home park. The owners of the units do not own the land. So the assessment currently goes to one person, and the individual assessment of the units go to multiple people.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Looking at the motion, those in favor of first reading? Carried.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw 2070-24.
Questions or comments? Those in favor of the second reading?
I move that council give unanimous consent to proceed to third and final reading of bylaw 2070-24.
Those in favor? Carried.
I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 2070-24.
Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'm going to slowly move on to 12.4, which would be the first reading of the Municipal Development Plan. Welcome back, Emily.
This report's going to be a little longer than the last one. A municipal development plan is a statutory planning document that provides a comprehensive, long-term, high-level policy framework for development and land use in a municipality. The current municipal development plan was approved by council in 2011, and the project to develop a new plan was initiated in 2021 with the objective of creating an MDP that meets the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, represents current trends and practices in development and planning, and sets out a 20-year vision for Wetaskiwin's built environment. The updated MDP must also reflect the community's needs, priorities, and hopes for the city's future. The updated MDP presented today, titled The City We Shape, which is under Schedule A of the attached bylaw, proceeds from the 50-year community vision and was developed through multiple phases of public engagement and consultation with administration and council. Engagement was carried out in 3 phases, starting in the spring of 2022 through summer of 2024. Most recently, a draft was presented to council at Committee of the Whole on October 28th. Detailed summaries of each phase of public engagement can be found on in the What We Heard reports available at whatifwetaskiwin.ca. So further revisions have been made based on feedback from the October 28th Committee of the Whole presentation, including adding a policy to section 3.1.2, stating that conceptual schemes and area structure plan amendments should ensure new neighborhoods provide access to parks and open space within 400 meters of all homes, and amending policy 5.1.1 to clarify and be consistent with this requirement. We also made changes to a number of policies, confirming that all mandatory compliance policies, in other words, the will statements, are consistent with other plans, policies, and regulations, and amending them to should where appropriate. In this case, policies 3.2.1.4, 3.2.1.5, 8.2.5, 9.1.3, 9.1.4, 10.3.2, and 10.3.3. And lastly, we revised the definition of the policy term should to clarify that compliance with these policies is required unless there is a demonstrated reason that compliance would be impracticable or undesirable. Should this bylaw receive first reading today, a public hearing will be scheduled for December 9th and advertised online and in the newspaper during the preceding 3 weeks. And formal notification will also be circulated to external agencies and community organizations this week, allowing for a final opportunity for public and agency input as required by the Municipal Government Act. Second and third readings would also be scheduled for December 9th. The city we shape meets the statutory requirements as set out in section 632 of the MGA and aligns with the city's 50-year community vision. It's organized into 5 parts: introduction and context, land use designations, which defines land use designations which are attached to each parcel of land, and related high-level development policies, citywide policies, which contains 7 policy topics, and implementation, monitoring, and evaluation, which contains policies related to the planning tools needed to implement the plan, and lastly, schedules, which includes the glossary and maps. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Councillor Blatz.
I move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2074-24 as presented, and I have a question. Well, actually, it's not a question, sorry, it's a statement. I just wanted to thank all of administration that was involved in this, because the Municipal Development Plan is like, this is the core of what it's going to take for us to get to where we need to be in 20 years, and making sure that we are aligning our strategic goals and our strategic plan and our 50-year vision, and making sure that we're doing the work to make sure that we get those things done. And so I do want to applaud you as well as the rest of the staff for all of the input and the creation of this document, because I feel like it's very comprehensive. I feel like the public can read it if they want to know more about a certain section of our community. I love this document because it'll make it easy for me to pitch our strategic plan and show people the direction the council sees the city going in the next 20 years. So I do have to applaud you guys on the work you did.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I reiterate what Councillor Blatt said. I'm wondering, do we need 2 motions or just one? Because we're going to have a public hearing on December the 9th.
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, this is first reading, so there would be second and third reading after public hearing, yes.
Yes, but don't we have to have the date of the public hearing in our motion, or is that 2 separate motions? I'm just asking the question.
Through the chair to council, we need another motion for public hearing.
Pardon me?
We need another motion to set a public hearing.
A new motion. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Yep. I once again will reiterate, and it's like I said last meeting when we looked at the draft, is that I'm very proud to sit at that governance level and watch you take these ideas that have come from council and the community in general to just see where we all want to see our already great city move to be even greater. So just thank you for your hard work. So to first motion, first reading, excuse me, those in favor? Carried. Can I have a follow-up motion, please?
Just need a second.
Yep.
I would move that council set December the 9th at 9 o'clock as a public hearing for this bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott.
Jess, can you remove 4 after schedule? Jess, can you remove 4 after schedule, please?
All right. Councillor Elliott, are you happy with what is on screen? Okay. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We are moving along. Can I please have a motion to go into closed session? Councillor Platts? Those in favor? Carried. All right, thank you. Can I have a motion to come out of closed session, please? Councillor Nielsen, those in favor? Excellent. Thank you. So we will move on to new business. Are there any items coming out of closed session or anything else anybody would like to add to new business? Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that I don't see on my screen.
If you want to,
I move that City Council directs administration to begin negotiations on leased property.
okay, so I'll add that as 15.2.
We need to talk about
Yeah, no, I'm understanding. So 15.2, those in favor of adding that to the agenda? Carried. Anything else? Perfect. We will go to 15.1 then, please. The new business regarding Councillor Elliott's extra time off. Go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to move the City Council approve Councillor Elliott's time away request for up to 8 weeks ending help. I make it the next council meeting? January 13th council meeting.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Approved. Right, on to 15.2 then, please. Councillor Billingsley, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I move that City Council directs administration to negotiate with the owner of a city leased facility and report back to council by March 10th, 2025, regular council meeting.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. We are done. Thank you very much. The meeting will be, I'll call it adjourned at 12:56.
So Bill, you're going to be here on December